So this is officially weeks 9, 10 of our semester, and week 9 topic corresponding to textbook chapters 10 and 11 is covering input and output streams. Right? So this is the 2 chapters there that cover this information. And of course, it's your responsibility to continue reading the chapters. And remember, reading the book also includes trying in every possible way to play with code samples that are present in the book, and that's the best way to learn. To just almost every time I read the book, I open it, I go through some coding samples, and I immediately begin to think, how could I change this to do something that I would like it to do? I'm very curious often to just copy and paste an example and try to make a few changes and see how it works, and which would prove if I understand it correctly, and or if I need to dig deeper into the topics. So anyway, so that's just, I encourage you to do this. And remaining homework here, just like I said earlier, we have covered parts of it in prior recordings, and so you can refer to those with respect to the current homework assignment. And the chapter 10 review, of course, is the same process as we had before. There are questions that are basically coming from the textbook chapter review section, and just follow up on that. So week 9 topics is the discussion about input and output streams. In general, I would say that whenever in software we deal with streams, it means sequential processing. It means that we process something character by character, or perhaps integer by integer, or some other data type, sequentially processing elements of input. And on the output side of things, it also looks like basically using a device to generate similar or well-controlled pieces of output, like strings or characters or integers being printed in a seamless way. At the same time, every time I look at the stream from the software perspective, this is what I envision. I will try to use my paint application to show you an example. That basically, to me, a stream, what we call stream, is just, it's easier to think about streams as some sort of a memory buffer. Okay, so this is just like a memory buffer, a section of memory that's being reserved for processing. And what happens there, if this is, for instance, an output stream, then we essentially begin to print print into this memory first, 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, D, E, F, 0.5, and things of that nature, right? So we essentially, what we want to do is we want to populate this memory with some information, okay? And once we're done doing this, this memory buffer, right? So just to clarify it, stream, like I said, the stream to me represents a memory buffer. And once we populate this memory buffer with this information, which in case of an output is just a sequence of characters, which resulted from populating it, from integers and characters, strings, anything you want to imagine. And eventually, just basically eventually taking all this information and sending the content of it to some kind of device, right? There's like a device, like a computer screen, for example, right? So this actually gets printed here. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, and so forth, right? Just gets printed. So in order for this to be printed, we need to populate this memory buffer with information, and at some point basically tell this memory buffer to go ahead and display this information on a device. Okay, so that's the process. And if I have a keyboard device over here, right, so if I have some kind of like a keyboard, which is an input device, in a similar manner, I would like to, when I think about an input stream, again, it's a device which holds some kind of memory buffer. Once again, the same process, memory buffer. Right? And this memory buffer originally is populated by the user because they type something on a keyboard. This memory buffer somehow gets populated with information that they type. For example, I don't know, 456, 789, XYZ, and so forth, whatever they type. So originally, this memory buffer is populated with this information. And at some point, they actually hit the enter key. Enter key. And once they hit the enter key, it's a signal to this memory buffer to actually go ahead and send this information back to the program. This is my program right here. So, in the process of this input, what happens is that the information from this memory buffer gets into my program, and now the actual variables like integers, right? Integers, characters, strings, and other type of objects are populated with this information. So that's my view from the programmer's perspective regarding the this idea of input-output streams. So that basically there are objects in computer memory that facilitate the work of a memory buffer, and there is an exchange between information that comes from the program like this, so that the output stream is populated with information, and vice versa, and eventually gets sent to the output, and vice versa. The device is used to populate the memory buffer originally, and then at some point this information is sent to the program. So the streams, if you will, are helper objects to interact with input-output devices. Now, interestingly, just if you think about printing on the screen or getting input from the keyboard, it's not that different when we're working with files. So if you replace this output screen and keyboard with a file, right? So if I just think about possibly just a file, so a file that exists that exists somewhere in the file system can be used the same way to accept this output in the form of character or binary bytes. And similarly, it can be used also for opening it and reading its information and populating the stream buffer with this information, and then getting this information eventually into the program. So these streams are used equally with the files, with screens, with keyboard, with network connections, and other devices that are capable of producing some kind of input and output.